Gaspar Noé's Enter the Void is an intensely psychedelic, visually graphic exploration of life and death, filmed from the first-person perspective of its protagonist, Oscar, a drug dealer living in neon-soaked Tokyo who was killed by the police after a betrayal from his best friend during a drug deal. Peter Bradshaw, writing for The Guardian, states that this is a grandiose hallucinatory journey into and out of hell, drugged, neon-lit, and with a fully realised nightmare porn aesthetic that has to be seen to be believed. Love him or loathe him, Gaspar Noé is one of the very few directors who is actually trying to do something new with the medium, battling at the boundaries of the possible. It has obvious depths, but Enter the Void is utterly original filmmaking, and Noé is a virtuoso of camera movement. We get the classic Noé tropes: throbbing ambient soundscape, murky lighting design bursting into unwatchable vortices of dazzling, flickering light, explicit sex and violence, colossal sans serif lettering for the title and end credits. This film, however, has a new motif. What we see is purely the point of view of its leading figure. We watch everything through his eyes. The first-person perspective for the film follows Oscar into his afterlife, as he floats across the skyline of a seedier Tokyo, watching over his younger sister Linda and her downfall. This is due to a pact he made with her, where he swore to protect her even in death. The first-person perspective goes to the extent of even embracing flickers across the camera that reflect Oscar's eyes blinking. This is Oscar's sensual experience, the end of his life, his afterlife, and his rebirth. Many sequences of Gaspar Noé's film embraces pure kaleidoscopic imagery, as the film literally takes the viewer from the perspective of consuming drugs, gradually taking the shot through visual, vibrant, fractal hallucinations. The hallucinations at times even serve as transitions from one sequence to another, from location to location, or from Oscar's afterlife present to the memories of his living past, the camera swirling effortlessly from one point to the next, a tactic not dissimilar to Noé's earlier film Irreversible, where the camera's aggressive swirling allowed the film's events to play in reverse. Enter the Void does this similarly when the viewer is introduced to flashback sequences that reveal more about Oscar and Linda's troubled childhood, which had the two experience the death of their parents. Death has been inescapable. Psychedelic imagery in this film is not simply used to provide visually exciting events in style. In death, Oscar is a protective force. The film is incredibly graphic, Noé's reputation of not shying away from every intimate detail being in full force within this film. Oscar's all-seeing eye is voyeuristic as he floats effortlessly through ceilings and walls to watch and even experience scenes that may be often too close for comfort for many viewers. Noé does not shy away from the representation of graphic unsimulated sex, and although this type of imagery may be considered gratuitous, in Noé's film about life and death, the detailing of sexual interactions works in reinforcing the theme of life. Through a sexual interaction between Oscar's sister and Oscar's friend, new life is born, with the film implying that this can even be Oscar's rebirth. Through Oscar's death, an eventual rebirth is created. These overtly sexual sequences may be self-indulgent and gratuitous, but they are implemented because Noé is commenting on the connection between life and death, making a connection to the concept of reincarnation. Despite the film's shocking content, including scenes of extreme violence and even an intensely graphic sequence where the viewers are taken to the interior of vaginal intercourse, sequences that are bound to leave audiences polarized, the film attempts to find a life-affirming message in death, not unlike the Tibetan Book of the Dead that Noé's film frequently makes reference to. Enter the Void attempts to create comfort in the afterlife, providing an interpretation as to the possibility of what death could mean. When Oscar dies, he is still a part of the lives around him, as he watches them unfold, and although this is a fairly tragic experience for Oscar as he watches lives break and fall apart, the concept of being able to watch those that one loves, family and friends, from the afterlife is somewhat comforting, and for Enter the Void, in the end, tragedy is overcome. In death and in rebirth, Oscar is and always will be connected with his sister Linda. In conclusion, Enter the Void can understandably be considered considered a polarizing film. The intense psychedelic imagery and graphic explicit content of the film will not be an enjoyable viewing experience for every viewer, but those willing to give the film a chance will likely find a life-affirming interpretation of death, the afterlife, and rebirth, a cycle of life not dissimilar to the religious concept of reincarnation. As sensory as the film is, it is philosophically so much more.